Have you ever felt like you're fighting against an invisible enemy? Not necessarily a dramatic, cinematic villain, but something more subtle. It's the voice of procrastination when you have a deadline. It's the wave of self-doubt that crashes over you right before a big opportunity. It's that internal resistance that seems to sabotage your best intentions. For me, that feeling is all too familiar. These internal battles led me back to a story Jesus told, the parable of the weeds. Many have analyzed it as a straightforward tale of good versus evil. But today, here on Dawnlight Devotions, we're not just going to retell it. We are going to connect this ancient agricultural metaphor to modern concepts of psychological resilience and strategic thinking. By the end of our time together, my hope is that you'll have a new framework, a new lens, to understand and finally start winning the internal battles you face every single day. Let's begin with the foundational text for our discussion today, from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13, starting at verse 24. Jesus is speaking to the crowd, and he tells them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat, and went away. When the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then the weeds also appeared. The owner's servants came to him and said, "Sir, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where then did the weeds come from?" "An enemy did this," he replied. The servants asked him, "Do you want us to go and pull them up?" "No," he answered, "because while you are pulling the weeds, you may uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time I will tell the harvesters, 'First collect the weeds and tie them in bundles to be burned. Then gather the wheat and bring it into my barn.'" Now, the original video that inspired this reflection rightly points out the key phrase in verse 28. An enemy did this. It establishes a clear conflict. But I want us to pause and look deeper, not just at what the enemy did, but how he did it. Notice the strategy. The enemy didn't come in broad daylight with an army to burn the field. He didn't try to uproot the good seeds after they were planted. His method was far more insidious. He worked under the cover of darkness. While everyone was sleeping, his weapon wasn't destruction, but contamination. He introduced something that looked like wheat in its early stages, something that would grow alongside it, compete for the same resources, and threaten to choke the life out of the real harvest. What does this tell us in the 21st century? It suggests that the most dangerous attacks on our peace, our purpose, and our faith often don't feel like attacks at all. They are the weed-like thoughts sown into our minds when we are tired, distracted, or spiritually asleep. Thoughts like, "You're not good enough. What's the point of trying?" Or, "That person wronged you, and they deserve your bitterness." These aren't frontal assaults. They are subtle contaminations that, if left unchecked, can grow to dominate the landscape of our minds. This ancient agricultural wisdom has a fascinating parallel in modern cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. CBT identifies something called cognitive distortions, or automatic negative thoughts. These are, in essence, mental weeds. They are irrational, unhelpful thought patterns that pop up automatically and distort our perception of reality. For example, the distortion of catastrophizing takes a small problem and blows it up into a disaster. The distortion of all-or-nothing thinking convinces us that if we're not perfect, we're a total failure. Just like the weeds in the parable, these thoughts grow alongside our healthy, rational thoughts, and they can absolutely choke our joy and progress. The enemy's strategy is to sow these very distortions. So, the first battlefront isn't always a dramatic external clash. It's the quiet, internal cultivation of our own mental and spiritual garden. The question is, are we aware of the weeds being sown? This leads us to the second critical insight. The original video correctly identifies two major battlefronts: the external enemy and the internal struggle, which the Apostle Paul so brilliantly describes as the war between the spirit and the flesh. Let's hear his words directly from Galatians chapter 5, verse 17. "For the desires of the flesh are against the spirit, and the desires of the spirit are against the flesh, for these are opposed to each other, to keep you from doing the things you want to do." And in his letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 6, he makes the stakes even clearer. For to set the mind on the flesh is death, but to set the mind on the Spirit is life and peace. Now, when we hear the word flesh in a biblical context, our minds often jump to a narrow list of dramatic sins. But this is a profound misunderstanding. The flesh, in Paul's writing, is more like our default human operating system. It's our survival instinct, our ego, our natural inclinations running without the guidance of God's Spirit. When someone insults us, the flesh response is to insult them back. This isn't just a sin, it's a primal defense mechanism. When we see something we want, the flesh response is envy or lust. This is a warped version of a natural human desire for fulfillment. The desire for money and power that the source video mentions isn't evil in itself. The healthy root is a desire for security and the ability to provide. The flesh is when these natural, God-given desires become untethered from God's wisdom and become our masters instead of our servants. This internal conflict is one of the most powerful themes in all of literature. It reminds me of the character of Boromir in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. Boromir is not an evil man. He is a brave warrior who deeply loves his people and his city. His core desire to protect his home is noble. But this very desire, this noble aspect of his flesh, becomes the vulnerability that the enemy, Sauron, exploits through the ring. The ring doesn't tempt him with evil. It tempts him with a shortcut to achieve his good intentions. Use me, it whispers, and you can save your people. He fights it, he struggles, but in a moment of weakness, his untethered desire overwhelms him, leading to tragedy. Boromir's story is a perfect illustration of Galatians 5 verse 17. A good man who finds himself unable to do the good he truly wants to do, because the desires of the flesh are at war with his spirit. So we've identified the battlefronts. The subtle external sowing of weeds in our minds, and the internal, often exhausting war with our own default programming, the flesh. Seeing this laid out can feel overwhelming, can feel like we are set up for a life of constant, draining struggle. And if that's where the story ended, it would be a tragedy. But it's not. This is where we introduce the most crucial, game-changing pivot in the entire Christian faith. The original video I drew from made a statement that is so profound, it's worth repeating and truly meditating on. It draws a line between two fundamentally different ways of fighting. It says, it's not a case that we're fighting for victory, but rather we're fighting from victory. Let's unpack that. When you fight for victory, you are implicitly saying that the outcome is in doubt. You're admitting that your enemy has a real chance to win. Your mindset is one of striving, hoping, and fearing. Every setback feels like a step closer to defeat. But when you fight from victory, the entire paradigm shifts. The outcome has already been decided by a higher authority. The decisive battle has already been fought and won by your champion. Your job is no longer to win the war, but to enforce the peace treaty that has already been signed in your favor. This isn't just a clever turn of phrase, it's a radical shift in identity. Think of the difference in mindset between a cadet in boot camp, desperately trying to prove they have what it takes to be a soldier, and a decorated veteran who knows their rank, understands their authority, and operates from a place of experience and confidence. The Christian life, through the work of Jesus, is meant to be a transition from the anxious cadet to the confident veteran. I find a powerful historical parallel in the D-Day landings of World War II. On June 6, 1944, Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy. It was a brutal, costly, and terrifying battle. But once those beachheads were secured, military historians agree that the ultimate outcome of the war in Europe was no longer in doubt. A decisive victory had been achieved. Now, were there still months of hard fighting ahead? Absolutely. Were there still casualties, setbacks, and moments of intense struggle? Of course. But the Allied forces were no longer fighting for a foothold on the continent. They were fighting from a position of established victory, pushing forward to claim the territory that was now rightfully theirs. Christ's death and resurrection was our spiritual D-Day. The decisive battle against sin, death, and the ultimate power of the enemy has been won. The victory is secure. Our daily struggles with the weeds of negative thoughts or the pull of the flesh are the ongoing battles to enforce that victory in the territory of our own lives. We don't fight in fear of losing the war. We fight with the confidence of knowing how it all ends. This is the freedom God offers. And He doesn't just state it as a fact. He gives us an entire arsenal of promises to remind us of this reality when we forget. When the smoke of our daily battles gets thick and we can't see clearly, these are the truths we hold on to. The Apostle Paul, in that same 8th chapter of Romans, asks a rhetorical question that should echo in our hearts. What then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? This is the ultimate statement of alliance. In any conflict, the most important question is who is on your side. This verse declares that the Creator of the universe, the sovereign God, is for you. And to the people of Israel, about to enter their own promised land full of enemies, God gave this promise through Moses in Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 6. It's a promise that echoes for us today. Be strong and of good courage. Do not fear nor be afraid of them. For the Lord your God, He is the one who goes with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. This is the promise of His unwavering presence. You are never fighting alone. Even when you feel isolated, He is there. And Jesus Himself gave this incredible delegation of authority to His followers in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19. I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. This is the promise of divine power. We are not fighting in our own strength. We are operating with the authority given to us by the ultimate victor. So, as we bring our reflection to a close, what is our takeaway? The story of the weeds is not a passive warning about a future judgment, but an active, daily call to be vigilant gardeners of our minds. The internal war with our flesh is not a sign of your failure, but a shared reality of the human experience that drives us to rely on a strength greater than our own. And most importantly, the key to it all is to stop fighting for a victory you feel you have to earn, and start living from the victory that has already been freely given to you. It's a shift from striving to abiding, from anxiety to assurance, from fear to freedom. I hope that through these different angles, the psychological, the literary, the historical, you see the timeless truth of these scriptures in a fresh light. I hope it encourages you to look at your own struggles not as evidence of your weakness, but as an opportunity to see God's victorious strength made perfect in you. The next time that weed of self-doubt is sown in your mind, the next time you feel the pull of that old, fleshly default response, I pray you will pause, take a breath, and remember your D-Day. Remember, the battle has already been won. What do you think of this perspective? What's one weed of a negative thought pattern you find yourself pulling up often? And which of these biblical promises gives you the most strength? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every one, and your story and insight might be the exact encouragement someone else needs to see today. And if you appreciate these deep dives, exploring faith through a lens of reason, history, and heart, I would be honored if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell to join our community here at Dawnlight Devotions. Thank you for spending this time with me, live in victory.